You were emailed a copy of our minutes from our August 16th meeting. I'd like to have a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from our August 16th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. And the first thing on our agenda tonight is notice of hearing for the nuisance violations, in which we had 4 property owners. Bill, and can you kind of update me here where we're at?
Lynn Dager, I was out there today, and he has cleaned,
Which property is that?
I'm sorry, 310 South 11th Street,
11th.
and that was the one with the crumbled motor, or RV
Yep.
in the yard. That's all been cleaned up. In fact, all the property is cleaned up, other than over on the one picture, his deck area
Yeah.
is still cluttered, and I told him it's way too cluttered, and he asked me to give him permission to wait till heavy trash pickup, and he promised me he'd have that all cleaned up by then.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, fine. And he's got, I don't think I have a picture of it, but he's got, yes I do. There's a picture on the second page. He's got a utility building that's all rusted and looks terrible. And I told him I'd like to have him paint that up, because we're looking at the dilapidated buildings also, and he said he'd have that painted. So he's actually,
Complying.
yeah, he really is. I mean,
Considering where he was a few months ago, he's come a long way.
Exactly. Yeah, that RV's totally out of there. He had somebody actually bring a backhoe in, and he pulled everything out. So in other words, he actually cut all these trees down, and Jeremy is going to pick them up. They weren't picked up as of this afternoon, but Jeremy called me up and promised me he'd get all those trees out of there. So he's actually cleaned this whole backyard up. So he's done a terrific job, I think. But
Good.
But he says he'll do more. The property on 7th Street, the McCullough property, he asked me to come over and visit him and tell me what I thought he should do, because he had done nothing. And I pointed out that these tops of semis that are sitting there, you can see them in one of the pictures. He was keeping them to cover wood up, and I told him that wasn't allowed because they're a vehicle part that's being used for another purpose. And so he promised me he'd get rid of those, and I just walked around. I took Brad Stoltz with me, police officer Brad Stoltz, and Brad and I kind of pointed out the different things on this property that he should do, and he was reluctant at first, but after we talked to him for a while, he said he would clean it up. And I said, Jim, all you need to do is ask me for additional 30 days until you get it cleaned up. And he said, Bill, how about 45? And I said, 45 days is fine. But I said, I'm bringing Officer Stoltz back with me in 45 days, and definitely want the place cleaned up. And he promised me he would. So that's the McCullough property. The property on Dirks is clean. He's actually taking everything, all that junk and trash and debris is gone.
Oh, that's the change lawn.
I've got
It was a rental.
Yeah, it was to green leaf, but it's and lawn and dirt.
And
Yeah.
he's actually cleaned that up, and Roger was out there today also, and I said, well, that's the cleanest that property's been, and I said, for him, that's clean. But heavy trash pickup is in, what, a week or two?
Next week.
And I said, it'll be a mess again. And
Chris will go get heavy trash and pull it up back there.
And Roger said, well, he promised he wasn't going to do that anymore, so we'll see. But yeah, all this has been cleaned up, so he did a super job. The home out on Selkirk Lane, it's been cleaned up. It looks a lot better than it did before, but there's wood, and there's an old air compressor that's next to the shed, and the trailer is full of stuff, but it looks a little more organized. But this gentleman called me, and he might be here.
Yep, right here.
Good. And he said, Jason?
Yep.
He said he likes to recycle items, and he piles everything next to his shed there.
It's on a trailer.
Well, he has stuff piled on the side of the shed, and at this time, when I took the pictures, you had items piled there.
Oh, okay.
And I said that...
That all been cleaned up a long time ago.
Exactly. That's what I just said. It's cleaned up. But I just told you that if you want to recycle and you want to pile items next to your shed,
Actually, I try to keep it on the trailer.
okay.
So,
But I just said you'd have to come in front of the Board of Works, and you have, and to see what their opinion is. But
You have his pictures.
kind of that's where we're at right now with that one, Ken. To me, he still has, I was out there today, to me, he still has excessive amount of wood and stuff next to his shed. He has a basketball goal that's busted down, and he has his trailer sitting there full of stuff. So I don't know. That's
that wood is all burning outside.
okay. I understand. I understand everything you're saying, but what I kind of told you to begin with, I don't know if I told you, but my opinion is if you want to store items like that, they need to be inside of this shed structure. I mean, if you want to store items to be recycled, and that was always my opinion. So, but I don't know how the Board of Works feels about it.
That basketball hoop, I was planning on getting my driveway replaced next year, and my son was wanting to have that put up.
And I just noticed today there's an old air compressor that's beat up and sitting there too.
Yeah, I'll get that put on the trailer now, off the ground.
Okay. Well, that's what I saw, and I guess that's up to how the Board of Works feels.
So what is
about
the
it.
trailer, what's that have to do with anything? It's still sitting there in your yard as junk, but it's on a trailer instead of in the yard. What's the difference?
It's more organized. It's not just stacked all over the place. It's actually on something.
What are you doing? I mean, what's the ultimate goal of what you have on the trailer?
I load that trailer up, and then I turn around and I fill my truck up with everything on that trailer, and I'm going to take and recycle it.
How often do you do that?
Whenever I get the trailer full.
I guess on the one picture, you got the pictures and everything, didn't you?
Nope,
Oh, didn't you?
we never got pictures.
Okay. I think I have.
Here.
I have an extra set too someplace.
We don't have any updated ones, though, do we?
No, we don't.
So do you have an attached garage to your house?
Yes, I do.
And you have this shed in addition to,
Right.
okay?
Oh, yeah. It looks a heck of a lot better now.
And then the last page is August, just a month ago.
That's not mine.
I don't have the August picture here.
Okay. Yeah, this is his.
I'm sorry, Cam.
Could you store the stuff in the shed
We got the shed full.
I've got a whole set here.
of recycling?
No. Of items that we've cleaned out of storage good and stuck everything in there.
Your garage?
I could probably stick stuff in the garage, yes.
I mean, the whole thing is
Should be there, is that
that
right?
it's just not very pleasant to your neighbors to have a bunch of junk laying around in the neighbor's yard.
I guess that's what I wanted to point out. If you look at the last picture, I actually took a picture of your neighbor's yard, or tried to get your neighbor's yard in with that last picture, and it shows you how their yard looks.
The swimming pool's the neighbor's?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, if I had a swimming pool and I'm not swimming and I look over and that's what I see, it doesn't really add any value to my property, does it?
I guess this is.
Oh, the swimming pool's yours? Okay.
I'm sorry, Ken, this last picture here, if you've got that.
Looking through the fence to the other property.
Yeah, looking through the
Okay, I
fence to
see,
the
yep,
other property.
yep,
That's
yep.
what I was trying to point out.
I guess the reason I was asking about how often that occurs is how often is your neighbor looking at that? Like how long before you fill up a trailer full?
It could be a month and a half.
And then it starts again.
Yeah.
Have any of your neighbors ever said anything to you about all the junk in your backyard?
No.
And you don't think they care?
I don't know. My yard.
They don't talk to us,
Well, Jason, you're right, it is your yard. But you also live in a neighborhood that when you disrupt the pleasant, enjoyable conditions of them, then you become a nuisance, okay? And that's where the city comes into play, because the city has ordinances that everybody has to live up to, and when you disrupt by having trash and rubbish and debris like you have here, then you become a nuisance. And
By law, by according to our ordinances.
yeah, this came in, I certainly didn't come out and look at your property just driving through. This came in as a complaint from a neighbor. And it came in on May 12th. And it was a notice of excessive trash junk located in backyard for lengthy period of time, is what your neighbor said. I have no information on what neighbor said that, and I don't really care. I don't ask names because I don't want to get into a dispute between neighbors. So, I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
My opinion is that if you want to collect rubbish, that's fine, but it has to be indoors. You can't go storing it out in your yard and cluttering up the neighborhood. That's, like I said, we have ordinances here. I can read you the ordinance if you want to hear it. Or I think you were served a copy of it, of the ordinance. You can't do that.
No, I didn't get no copy of the ordinance.
What is this here?
It just gives the penalty, I think.
It references the ordinance.
Yeah, this is the ordinance, the copy, accumulation of rubbish. I think that was sent to you.
Nope.
Well, I know it was.
Yeah, it was,
It was mailed May 18.
Yeah, it was mailed to you on 5/18.
The letter you got from me was
Yeah.
long after that would have been sent out. The letter that you received from me was basically telling you that either it needed to be cleaned up or you needed to appear tonight. So what Bill and I think the mayor are talking about is it would have been a notice that would have been sent out months earlier. Because normally we don't get to this point until numerous efforts have been made to work with property owners to get it cleaned up. Nobody is objecting to you recycling. And in fact, that's great that you're willing to do that. It's
Okay, what about if I just put a fence up there?
well, the idea is to, if you're going to put a fence that is totally closed in where it would keep what you're storing to recycle from being viewed by the general public, that's one option. Probably the better option is to, if you have room in your garage, just store it in there. If you have it out of the public view, then there's not an issue. It's the storage in the open area that people around you look at,
Okay.
okay? So if you can enclose it and keep it stored indoors, you shouldn't have an issue.
Okay. But what about the wood? I use that for burning outside.
If,
Start fires outside.
Jason, if that was the only thing there in that whole backyard, with your trailer not there,
I gotta get rid of the trailer too?
well, what we're saying, that is your recycled
Yeah, but-
material, right?
if you have a...
So it has to be inside,
An approved container.
okay? So in other words, just stack it on the trailer, to me, is not going to suffice, because you need to get all your recycled stuff inside.
But I think what you're asking is that I'm not recycling the wood, right? So if I put my
Yeah.
recycling stuff in the garage, can I stack the wood outside?
I'd say yes.
The answer is yes, but
Okay, now what about the basketball hoop? Like I said, I plan on putting that up. You know, that's actually a good basketball hoop that was given to us.
Can
And
you-
my son, who wants to play basketball.
I don't think that anybody would object that if it was laid up against the building. But
Okay.
what we're seeing and referencing is that there's obviously consistency here of May, June, August, and it looking very similar. It might have been moved from a pile to the trailer, but it's still there. Understood, basketball goal, but a pile of wood is different than a stack of wood. I mean, it's going to appear very differently. Is this wood for burning, or is it just a junk pile?
No, it's wood for burning.
I understand, but that's not what people are going to look at and perceive. So I think having a reasonably stacked pile for burning, okay, but it's when it gets out of control, like these pictures, which drives complaints. I don't know. Anybody feel differently about the basketball goal?
The other reason in part that you have these types of ordinance, and Decatur isn't unique, I mean, this is, you'll find this in any community, it's to prevent an environment for rodents, rats, things like that, that can carry diseases with it. So when you have an accumulation of debris, and it's just kind of piled up, animals like to live in that because they're protected from predators of their own. So when that happens, you can have health issues arise. So to prevent that from occurring, in part, these ordinances come about to protect surrounding property owners from being exposed to that. Okay?
Okay.
So the idea is if you're talking about storing the basketball goal until you can put it up next summer if you are redoing your drive, if you're going to stack up the wood that you use to burn and do it so that it's neat, and you're going to store the rest of the material that you recycle inside your garage, whether you keep it on the trailer in your garage or whether you keep your trailer in the garage and the stuff's on your floor until you put it on the trailer, that's up to you. But if you do that, then that's out of sight. It's not going to, shouldn't interfere with anybody.
Okay.
Do you, I'm not sure you understand where we're coming from. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, and as far as the basketball goal, if you can fit all this other stuff in your garage, I would think you could throw that basketball goal in there too and work around it, personally. I mean, I don't see, if you're not using something, laying it out in your backyard doesn't make any sense. Now, if it's a pile of wood for burning, it's a little different, but this looks like it's not your normal firewood. It looks more like boards and dimension lumber that come from projects, various places, whatever. Is this wood you burn inside the house or outside?
No, it's outside.
And you have a wood burning,
I have a fire pit outside.
a fire pit, okay. So you have to cut this up because it's long pieces, it looks
Right.
like. And the trailer has a license on it?
No,
It does not have a license on it?
no.
So,
I'm sorry there, I didn't even go that far, Jason. You need a license on the trailer if it's sitting on your property, so. That's just another thing you have to do by city ordinance.
because you're actually transferring it from your trailer to your truck.
Right. That's why the trailer's just sitting there.
Yeah, I think that's bad.
Yeah, it's not,
So
it's against ordinance.
It's a catch-all is what trailer
Yeah.
is.
I thought you were hauling the trailer. I thought you were using the trailer.
Yeah.
So I assumed it had plates on it. But by ordinance, it's a trailer and it needs plated also. So I didn't even tag your trailer because I assumed you were using it. So you can't have the trailer there without a license on it, so. That's just another ordinance that you have to live by, so.
So you don't actually drive it on the road, you just use it to
No.
store stuff? Well, if it's in your garage and that's where you're storing stuff, then that's okay then.
Right, but it's not in his garage, right?
No, I know, but I mean, if that's what you want, if you want to keep the trailer and
No,
use it,
I'll just get rid of the stuff. I'll wait till I put the fence up.
I think that makes the most sense. It's going to keep your neighbors happy. It's going to contain it. Allows you to continue to do what you're wanting to do. It's either that or put it inside or don't do it. So,
Yeah, it's just one way I make that little extra cash, so.
yeah.
And we're certainly not against that, but
Well, that's the only thing I was frustrated about was, all I was trying to do is make a little bit extra cash.
Yeah, and that's fine. Nobody's saying you can't do that or shouldn't do that. It's,
Well, I guess I just gotta learn a little more about the rules then,
yeah,
Right.
so if you have the ability to put it in your garage, if you do that, then you should be fine, I would think.
Jason, when you look at the other people we were talking about, those other 3 properties, at least 2 of them, it's a very similar situation. And this one individual we talked about, they go out on the heavy trash day and they go out and pick all the things that they want to
Cash in.
cash in, and they just put them on their property, and they don't ever do that. There's another gentleman who had a giant 5th-wheel trailer that he brought onto his property and disassembled for the purposes of salvaging. But, I get it, but to the neighbors surrounding it, that's why we're getting these complaints, because it's, what's going on here. I have a salvage yard, and my neighbor's backyard is a salvage yard. That's what we're trying to avoid. So, if the solution is for you to put up a fence, then okay, but where does that leave us?
Okay,
I'd say give him some more time.
yeah, we're not trying to be unreasonable.
Yep.
Okay? So we want to work with folks. Last thing we want to do is end up in court over something. And so how long would it take you, if you're going to store this in your garage until you get a fence up, how long would it take you to get stuff put in your garage? Or how long are you putting up a fence right away, or?
No, it's going to be probably next year now.
Okay. So how long do you need to get stuff moved into your garage so that it's not outside?
You get 30 days?
Okay. So that's fair. Is that fair to you guys?
Yep, exactly.
If you can get it done in 30 days, then the problem's solved. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, Bill Carbuck will be back around and he'll check it out and make sure that you're, and as long as you're complying, then we don't have an issue.
All right.
So, okay. If you have any questions in the meantime, give us a call and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. So the other gentleman, you said 45 days. Are we,
McCullough,
so what, you're going to go back with Stoltz?
yep,
That's on 7th Street.
yeah.
Yep. But the other two are all good, at least until big trash comes. At least till next week. Al, do you have a question?
Is Pickaway repair in the city limits?
Yes.
Yes.
And how about, and I know that McKean's down behind the fire station is,
Mm-hmm.
but they've got all this, because they've got a zone business, they can park cars there without licenses,
Yes.
and they can have weeds growing around the cars. Those cars haven't been moved for
Yeah.
5 months.
You know, Al, if you'd have looked at that 3 or 4 years ago in Les Marco, it's right in his backyard, he can
Well, it's in my
verify,
front yard.
well, he can verify this, they cleaned up a lot.
Well, yeah, but still,
But, I understand, but they have cleaned up a lot.
they mow out there, but they don't do anything with the weeds around the cars, and that's, to me, that's a,
I'll stop and talk to Mark and ask him to
Everybody takes care of their
weed eat around this car.
It's a valid-
I'll do that.
It's a valid
That's a valid point now.
Pickaway repair, though, that was the reason they had to have a fence out there, right? Because of that
Yep.
issue? Yeah.
And Pickaway Repair, if you look out there, if you drive through, and I've been out there a few times, it's quite organized. He does, I think, he does a good job, because everything's in line back there, and everything is, it's,
but yeah, it's a junkyard.
well, it's something that we allowed years ago, and he's actually living up to the restrictions and everything we gave him as a Board of Zoning Appeals, because I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals. We're not particular happy for how we did it. I think if you had to do it over again, we'd have done it differently. But he is keeping it.
He gets brought up every now and then about the junkyard.
I know, he is keeping it organized, I'd
Well,
say.
I know the kid, and, you know, I think he does too.
Yeah.
I just asked the question.
I know, understand, sure.
I didn't know if it was in the city limits or not.
Yes, it is.
That was my question.
Yep.
Okay, so we got the nuisance violation hearings out of the way. Moving on. Ann wants to present price quote for parts to rehab a primary tank at the waste treatment plant. That's just something that we're all very understanding about. We all know our waste treatment plant parts and pieces.
Everybody have outhouses and we'll be fine.
Yeah, that's all I want.
We wouldn't have to worry about running it to a plant, would we?
So tell us what this is and what we're doing here.
It's price quote to rehabilitate one primary tank. We have 3 primary tanks that collect raw sludge, and they're coming to the end of their useful life. The primaries were noted on our annual IDEM report, as unsatisfactory due to needing maintenance. So we got a price quote for most of the worn parts in the tank, and from Amwell, because that's the brand of parts in the tank, but we're not replacing all the parts, so they have to fit. And this is a manufacturer quote, so it'd be lower than a distributor would be. Since this maintenance item was listed on our inspection report, like written down, we're required to reply to IDEM how we're going to handle this. Now, that quote is just for one tank, but we have 3, and so I'm going to propose that we rehab one tank a year for the next 3 years.
1 year for the next 3 years.
I think it should be fine
They wouldn't give you any,
with them.
they wouldn't give you any breaks on 3 at one time?
Oh, I guess we didn't ask that. We were kind of trying to keep costs down. We've got other things that will be coming up on this inspection too, so. I mean, we can ask for 3.
Well, you know the budget. I mean, if you got other expenses, if you can't swing 75 now, then...
So, we were trying to be conservative.
You didn't realize
And frugal.
well, that's 20 plastic chains. Is that right? 29-foot plastic chains?
That's what I see.
Yeah, 20 pieces of 9-foot inch strands, yeah. And 10, the flights are the boards. They skin and then they go down the bottom and push the sludge to the hoppers.
How long is that good for?
Oh, I'd say over 10 years.
So basically every 10 years you'll be looking at rehabbing it.
15, I'd have to ask for one. It was in the 90s when these were replaced last.
Wow.
I'm not sure the beginning or the middle, but they have been replaced, because these are like original tanks for when the plant was built.
So now you got one quote, is that all that's required, or?
Well, since
It's a specialized quote.
Manufacturer, since it's...
we've got parts that these are going to fit on, they're Amwell parts, so we have to stick with this brand.
Okay.
I guess my question, if you have all this maintenance to do, you're like Cam said, you're doing it every 10 years. Are we building this into our sewer rates, or, I mean, are we... Well, yeah, I guess, you know, when you're doing this...
I think we've been kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit on money for the sewer department, so...
Okay, well, this is just something that we know we have maintenance, and if we went back 10 years and looked at all our maintenance costs for the last 10 years and averaged it out, that should come into play when you're asking for any type of sewer rate too.
Well, yeah, but sometimes they don't talk that closely to us.
Okay.
We try to estimate things when someone is figuring a
Okay.
sewer rate, but we've been playing catch-up for a while.
And this is to keep us in compliance with the item thing
Yeah,
that we were...
30 days, I'm supposed to reply to this inspection letter within 30 days, so...
And they're okay with the 3-year replacement plan?
Well, no, I'm just gonna, this will be my initial reply. Now, I'm guessing that it will be fine. You know, they don't give you much time because there's other things involved with this inspection that's gonna take a lot of time to figure out. So, this is kind of going to be a general reply. And as long as the inspector is happy with it, or he could come back in 6 months and say, okay, what is your progress on what you mentioned in the first reply? And then we have to show some progress, but if it's not spelled out specifically what the progress is, you know, but by saying we want to do 1 tank this year and ordering the parts, then that would satisfy part of the comment letter that there's more.
Mm-hmm. We don't like getting letters from IDEM.
And neither does Ann.
No.
Well, there's aging structures out there. We've got new parts, and we've got parts that were new, and now they're getting older, and we have very old parts. So it's all kind of a...
So you're needing a go-ahead so you can get the letter in response for the 30-day window?
Yeah, because I would like to put that in this letter.
Right.
Yeah.
There's other things that I need to reply on that will be more generalized, but I would like to, I mean, if you want to do them all in 1 year, that would be fine, but I'm going to propose once a year.
I think your plan's fine. It helps you budget the cash flow, but if by chance I didn't want to come back and say, no, if you got to do all of them this year.
Well, that's possible,
Then-
but I don't expect it.
But if they did, I guess I would have just...
Because,
we
I
could've-
mean, they're operating, it's not like it's
Broke.
broke. The other item that I'm going to be talking about sometime is
Could you
broke.
get a quote for doing all 3 so that if by chance
That's what
they
I
did
did
come back?
But I'll put in this letter that we're going to do 1 a year, but I'll go back to Amwell and just see how much we would save.
I'm like Cam, I mean, if you had to do all 3,
Yep.
and we get a quote for, you know, maybe we get a discount if we're going to buy on a
We
volume
won't
basis.
hear back from them after that. If I get a 30-day quote from them, it could be 6 months before we hear from IDEM about this reply letter, but that's the way they are.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the quote
Second.
and get this stuff on order and let IDEM know that that's your intent to do.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, you can go ask for additional quotes for all 3 tanks. And if we see some savings, knowing that we have to do it, you know, but...
We can reevaluate at that time.
If this satisfies IDEM at the moment, we're fine.
It's a total amount,
25,
20, yeah.
25,574.
Thank you.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Ann?
And this all comes from the sewer operator. Yeah. You want the second.
It's pretty good. It's been since the 90s, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we can do it, the labor in-house, it's just the parts that we're getting.
Okay.
Were you gonna do this change orders?
Yeah, we can do those now. Yeah, I do have that on here. Change orders. You didn't give them to me, did you? Yeah, you did. Right here they are.
This is on the sewer project.
Yeah, change orders on the sewer project. The first one was on the demolition of the Loshi building, and the second one was for the replacement of the cast iron water line across the parking lot back here. On the Loshi building was for environmental issues, is that right?
The Lucy was to take down the building.
Oh, it's for the taking down of the building from Fleming, and it was $39,750. And
It's already gone. Might be good.
Yeah,
Yep, it's
actually,
gone.
these were already approved.
yep,
And the only change order we had for the
Both these
Loshi
change
building
orders-
was that asbestos, right?
Yeah.
The exterior, that one area.
We have to discuss that too.
Oh,
because
okay.
there's a lot more than me.
Oh, okay.
okay, the first one is from Fleming furnish equipment operators supervision to demolish existing luxury building on First Street. The demolition includes, okay, it's because we weren't going to tear it down, and then we decided to tear it down. So this added $39,750 to the project, which will save when it comes back to the not having...
It'll save significantly
on doing an
when
open
we do
cut
the open
versus
tab
board.
versus the board.
Right. So, I just need to make this a matter of record, right, fellas?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. And the second change was for putting in to replace the cast iron water main from First Street to the, whatever that's called over there along the river. What's it called?
To the side? No.
With the water line that attaches to there at the top of the riverbank. Jeremy?
Quote in there from plumbing, actually.
It's basically it's the river crossing. That line connects to both pool lines and whatever river.
Yep.
And
And that's actually been completed. They bored it, it's done. It was $53,000, so we just need to make that a matter of record. We'd already okayed to do this,
So moved.
Second.
And that the mayor would sign on behalf of
Okay.
the Board of Works, these
Okay.
change orders.
Okay, a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. Thank you.
And that cost was in large part, will be offset by the
Water-
shoring up, yeah.
Yeah, the water department,
Right.
they have.
Right.
And sewer.
But it will result in a savings in the shoring up that would have otherwise been required for the water main, and they were projecting that there would have been breaks. So even though you spent the money, you would have probably spent that and even more had they let the main in and shored it up, because the vibrations would have undoubtedly caused breaks in that line. So it's still a net savings probably.
Actually, yeah,
yeah.
both change orders are really, it's added to the project, but it's really,
Gonna save money in the
It'll
long
save
term.
money in the
In the
long
long
run.
run.
Right.
Okay, I think we need to jump back in our agenda now. I see Joe's here and this other gentleman. Does he represent one of those houses, Bill?
Yeah, James Long. He was the house on Dirk Street
Okay,
that I went by there today, and he's virtually cleaned it all up.
this is Mr. Long here? Okay.
And this
And that's a
was,
rental that you own, right, Joe? Yeah.
this was the picture previous, and everything is gone. So he's pretty much cleaned it up like he said he would. He was the one that I guess we can bring it up now, James, that, and you pointed out to me that heavy trash pickup, you are out of the business? Okay. Thought you said that, so, I guess my concern was you have cleaned it up, but as long as you don't go back to the way it was before. I'm satisfied with the way you cleaned it up. It's clean. It's the cleanest I've ever seen it. But I'm sure it's clean for you. Is that right?
Thank you for cooperating, sir.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, the residences are made to be residences and are to be enjoyed by their neighbors, and they're not salvage yards. So thank you for cleaning it up, and I'm sure your neighbors appreciate it too. So with that, I mean, you don't need to stay any longer since you have obliged, and it's all taken care of. So, but thank you for coming in. All right, now moving back on here. I think Joe's happy too. Yeah. Jeremy, the EMS quotes. Every day. Their quotes for the remediation at the Loshi property was not to exceed $14,562, but their invoices for $16,232. They attached a time and material log totaling $24,154. When Jeremy submitted the quotes originally for this work at the Loshi property, the other quote that was rejected by Barton at $11,100. With all that said, Board of Works needs to approve paying Environmental Management Specialist $16,232.67, or pay them what their quotes was not to exceed, which was $14,562. Jeremy?
Basically what had happened is the two environmental firms somewhat worked together. Martin come in and did the testing and such. And then to satisfy the purchasing ordinance, we had to get your quotes for the actual removal. Martin quoted it, EMS quoted it. Well, what had happened, and this does happen, on these buildings that have been remodeled over time and added on to, you know, as they add on, they add more layers to the walls, you know, as they add on and so on and so forth. There was some hidden siding behind some other siding that did not test for asbestos. So during the removal process, removing what was already identified, EMS discovered basically, and some of you probably aren't real familiar with that building, but remember where the machine shop was? It would be on the northeast corner, basically the river. There was two walls there that all the wood and everything had to come off. Basically, it was like a tongue and groove wood siding, but in that, basically, in that tongue and groove area was asbestos caulk and such that they used years ago to seal all that up. So that was the additional, I don't have that figure.
$2,000.
5,000 or whatever it was.
Well, because the quote was 11, not to exceed 14, and we're at 16.
Because we had additional, the initial quote for what they identified, and then the additional. Well, when it all was, I brought the additional to you guys, you said, okay, go ahead, but then in the end, when he figured out all his time, he called me and he said, hey, you know, I'm over. And I said, you know, that's going to have to go back in front of Board of Works, you know, Board of Works would have to approve that over, you know, you are exceeding the quote. So that's basically where we are today. They did the work. I witnessed them do the work and did the inspection and everything on. So it's really back in your hands. If you want to pay the additional, or how you guys want to handle it. It was work that had to be done regardless to satisfy everyone.
The original overage was, I mean, this quote for 11, not to exceed 14, right?
Yeah, it turned out to be 16.
So the overage was,
2,000?
well, but
Yeah.
they already had built in 3,000 for potential.
Okay.
$1,670 over.
I did not promise them the overage. I just told them that it had to come from you guys.
Jeremy, was the quote of 11 not to exceed 14, was it the not to exceed 14 designed to address any unforeseen things like this?
They did address a few other things.
I have
There's
them
some
here.
additional on top of some other things that they did take care of while they were there.
I mean, normally, you know, if it's not something that's foreseeable and you run into something unexpected that couldn't have been, you know, discovered ahead of time, you know, typically then that's something that you pay for, but I don't know whether the not to exceed figure was designed to kind of pad what could be charged if that were found. I mean, did they suspect this, or?
There was no way that you were going to identify this area, these two buildings, the way it was covered up.
Did they do some type of remediation with this caulking? What'd they do?
They actually for the wood and everything off of it. It was easier to take the wood off and remove it than to try to get all the boxes out of it.
This is where we're
Yeah.
11.
So the wood was considered hazardous material, and they disposed of it, and that's where the charge went up, or was it all in labor?
The wood really wasn't considered hazardous. It was the caulking, the white caulking that was in the joints itself. He claimed it was easier and quicker for them just to remove all the wood and dispose of it properly.
So that's where the big charge difference was?
That was the second proposal, and then he came in the 1,600 higher or whatever it is on the final proposal. But
16.7.
he had the option of scraping all that out, or, you know, I didn't tell him he had to take all that off. I think that was a choice that they made due to somewhat of the time restraints that they were on to get that off, so when we could get it and get it down.
We already authorized an increase of $5,300 to deal with this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm inclined to say that
Pay you what you quoted, and pay you the 14,562, and Bill? I agree.
I do also, because like Cam pointed out, their quote was $11,000 not to exceed 14, so they already had built $3,000 in for unforeseen items, and then, I don't know, that's, I think they should be content with that myself. I think that they will be. Well, I think if you...
Next time we need them for something, are they gonna?
that's the only other concern.
Yeah. Don't get it back.
we burn on a bridge.
Yeah, we burning a bridge, so to speak, or?
Yeah, you have to watch
Not like
that
there's-
also, because that there's limited... firms out there that do the work.
No, not a lot of firms that do the work.
Nope.
And,
Yeah.
you know we'll need them again sometime.
Oh, you will need them.
Definitely need them.
Probably, yeah, real soon.
The other quote that was rejected was a total of
Yeah, the original, I was wrong on that. I was misspoke on that. The total cost for this was $93.20. Then we authorized an additional $300, brought it up to $14.50. So there was no contingency built in, but we authorized an additional $5,300 for this particular issue.
You did include, if you guys want to look at the material and labor cost sheet, it just came up to time and material log was like $24,000. And that he billed for $16,000.
Jeremy, so this additional 5,242 that was approved, is that the 900 square feet of asbestos plaster found on the exterior of the building?
Yes,
And that's what we're talking about here.
that's what you're talking about, that additional 5,000 or whatever it is.
So he's coming back with a bill being $1,600 more
Right,
than that.
right. So he found this additional asbestos, came back and said he would remove it for $5,242. The board approved it.
And then
Then he found-
I think really what he's doing is he's trying to make up whatever he was short on the time. It's basically is how I understand the bill, and we're talking with him.
Must have looked different then.
Yeah, we authorized that much for it.
I mean, that was a known,
Yeah,
issue.
They knew exactly what they were getting into. Because
and he
at
gave
that
us the
point,
quote and
when
we
I-
accepted it.
When I met him, we were standing there looking at asphalt, and everything that needed to come off. Because everything else was taken off already. So, I really think it was an underestimate on his end. That's for you guys to decide.
What is this 24, what is this for?
I think that was attached to the bill, so to the $16,000.
And then for the $1,600, I would
This was the final bill I got. And then I said, well, this doesn't even match what we approved. And so I'm assuming this is what they really, what it took to do it. This is what he billed, but that's what we approved. Got it?
Yeah, I know, I understand what you're saying. They've attached all these time and material logs, which comes to $24,154. Just to confuse matters more. So they're saying it was $24,154. They invoiced us for $16,200. However, said it would be no more than $14,500. I guess this is their defense to try to convince us to pay the extra $1,670.
Well, I'm still confused. Where does it say that it would be no more than 14 something?
Well,
It says not to exceed.
it's the 9,320 plus the 5,242.
Right.
So the quote.
Right, but there was nothing about not to exceed. There was no
No.
filled in. It was two specific quotes
yeah.
based on what they actually observed.
Yeah.
The second quote came in after they observed the additional asbestos that needed to be removed. So it wasn't an unknown thing that they couldn't have discovered. They did discover it.
Correct. They discovered it, they quoted it off of what their findings.
Okay, so it's not, there was no quote saying it's this, not to exceed that. It
No.
was two separate quotes.
Okay, those quotes, you have them there. One of them has 1,400 square feet of floor tile and mastic.
That's the first one.
Yep.
Then 300 square feet of wall texture.
Yep.
Approximately 1,500 square feet of transit wall panels.
That was the original 9,320.
Okay. And then approximately 900 square feet of asbestos plaster.
Yep.
Which was an additional 5,242. Which brings us to a total of 14,562.
And that's the only things listed on here, and it's 16,232. So, I don't know, Jeremy, I hate to pay him the extra, but then again, I'm not, I mean, are we going to burn a bridge? Are there other places that if they, or is this, you know the company, I don't know them, I mean, are they?
We work with them a lot. Actually, let me back up. I've not worked with this individual. I've worked with his dad a lot over the years. So, but it's all the same thing.
It's all come together.
But I just look at, you know, I see from the side of it, and I know things that are coming up that we're going to also meet them on, so, you know, you're just going to have to kind of decide how you want to approach it.
It's one of those, you pay me now or pay me later. Well, I think you got pretty solid ground if you want to stick with the two quotes and be done with it, but I think you got to factor into, you know, are you going to need to work with these people in the future? So
Well, and I think they need to remove not to exceed that.
there's no not to
It
exceed.
says no.
No.
Yes, it does. Not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Okay, what he said.
They need to remove that if they're not
Yeah.
going to follow that, to me.
And he
You know,
specifically
because-
said
He
on
says
that
not to
additional,
exceed.
not to exceed.
All right.
I wouldn't worry about running the bridge.
Yeah?
If he wants to bid.
So,
Be smart about it.
I don't know. I see it both ways.
Next time we need someone to do remediation, we're going to have to call them out of Toledo or somewhere, who knows where.
He needs remediation on how he bids, too.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's the junior that did it, right?
Yeah,
It's like me,
he's a younger,
second generation.
younger guy.
it's like me quoting, me quoting a 400-pound person super selected, Dad spit me upside the head. I mean, what do you think?
What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Right.
The
So-
remediation portion, the labor's the same. It's what they do with the material after they get it. If they fill it one dumpster, it's going to be it's wrong.
Oh, you don't want that.
I guess I'm inclined not to pay it.
Let me see.
Take our chances and see where it gets us. That's me. But I need a motion for that, if that's what you guys are inclined to agree or not.
Well, I'm inclined that, I think we're all inclined that way. I think we're letting what we don't know perhaps cloud, so maybe it is as black and white.
Is
as
this
it seems.
something that we could table and ask for more information on, or
We, I,
is it not worthy yet?
what more information are they going to give us?
Yeah.
Well, this is his final, right?
Well, let's just go ahead with what they build.
When I spoke to him, he just said it is what it is, and because I tried to ask him why he built more, and he said to make up for the difference of what it really costs to do.
Not yet asking for a detailed email, so I can give it to you guys prior to the meeting. I never received.
Well, that's probably that list.
Really?
That's probably with this over here, it's $24,000. It's a lot more than,
He did not notify me of that 1,600 until probably a week after they were completed with the job. They actually, when they went back and figured their time cards and figured all their charges, is when he realized that he was over.
Is it silly to think about splitting the difference?
I think that's true labor cost.
Just an idea.
That's what I'm over here thinking. It's not my decision.
Split the difference?
Show that the difficult project, we want you again, but
yeah, you said not to exceed.
He gave you a quote for $5,000, and he's seen it. I mean, and
Yeah.
well, honestly, he could have quoted you anything we would have had to do it at that point. Why didn't it not? I know it took longer, but he's seen what he had to do. And at that point, he could have quoted us $10,000, and we probably would have had to take it at that point.
Because he was there doing the work.
Right?
Yeah, I remember when you called me and told me, hey, it's going to be more, and I go, what? And you go, hey, we don't have any choice.
Right. It's out there in black and white.
You know what, that's a great point. I mean, he knew exactly, nothing, didn't uncover something else.
I don't want to shortchange a guy because I've been on that end of the stick, but I mean, he had it. It's not like you open up a wall and there's more asbestos. He's
Right.
sitting there staring at that
He knew.
asbestos saying,
Right.
and
I think he just
if I quote
made a
something,
mistake
I
in
have
terms
to
of
keep
what he
that.
quoted.
I'm gonna be a bad guy that you get a decision.
Did you have
Legal temp work.
Tim, was that a motion, or was that not a motion?
are you paying for $60 an hour?
I'll make a motion to pay him what he quoted, $14,562.
I'll second.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all in favor?
He'll have to sharpen his pencil next time.
Just do this to show.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Jeremy, and you might even, when you see him, talk to him, whatever, to let him know, hey, it was we did what we morally thought was the right thing to do. He said not to exceed, and that's the way it is.
I think he will be fine with that.
Okay. Phyllis, do you have a resignation letter from one of our employees? Greg? Mm-hmm. You told me you would. There it is. Okay. Just a letter of resignation from Craig Hirely from the Fire Department. Please accept this letter's notice of my resignation from the position of firefighter. My last day of employment will be September 19th, 2016. My family's decided to relocate to Mandeville, Louisiana, and after careful consideration, I realized that this opportunity is too exciting for our family to decline. It's been a pleasure working for you and all the members of the Decatur Fire Department over the last 12 years. The Decatur Fire Department is poised for continued growth, and I wish you and the department nothing but success. I would like to help with the transition of my duties so that department continue to function smoothly after my departure. I am available to help and train my replacement, and I will make certain that all my reporting and records are updated before my last day of work. Chief Les Markle and the Decatur City Council, thank you again for the opportunity to work for the City of Decatur Fire Department. I wish you and the staff all the best, and I look forward to staying in touch with you all. You can email me anytime, and he has his email and his phone. Sincerely, Craig Hirely. So, make this a matter of record.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Now, having made that a matter of record, Les, did you hear anything today? Any good news?
Yeah, we were able, both candidates had to have a blood test redone. And of all weekends, to do it on Labor Day weekend on Friday was when we got the call that Taylor and Heath both needed to go get a blood test. So we were able to arrange through direct pay, direct access to the hospital, for them to go get the test they needed. And then they, Public Safety Medical made arrangements for the hospital to fax the results. So she called me late this afternoon and said that they had received both results. And barring that, I don't know, tomorrow if they don't need an earwax sample or something, we might know by maybe late tomorrow afternoon or the next day, that she would at least be able to give me a verbal on event, paperwork and stuff.
Okay, so when you get the okay, is there anything we have to do before Taylor Gage can start, or what do we?
We will have to have a pension board meeting.
Okay.
She asked me, when is your pension board meeting scheduled? And I said, scheduled when you tell me. We're not a real big department. It's not like we have a board meeting on the 15th of every month. We will have a pension board meeting when the day we need to have it. Phyllis knows what forms we need signed, and the pension secretary has to sign, and I have to sign. So we will have our board meeting when?
Immediately following the information.
Yes, so we will take care of that.
And then?
We're kind of in a crunch, really, to get Taylor started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
So I can be looking forward to working a couple shift days and get Taylor started.
Okay, but there's, after that, he's clear to go, nothing more that...
All we would need to do is come in and sign the necessary
Papers for insurances, taxes, and all that. Okay.
Now, I don't know if you had talked with Cam and Bill about what we had talked about the other day on
No, I'm not.
what I want to do with Heath is, since Taylor's already a volunteer, is I want to immediately move Heath from Preble to Decatur as a volunteer for those 3 months. That way he can come in, he can train, he can ride along, he'd be covered under workman's comp. So he would just simply be a volunteer from now till the end of the year. And he's okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Then he can start coming to our meetings, he can get acclimated.
That's a good idea.
So that would, since I've already got, I want to have a volunteer opening, I'll just move him into that volunteer opening so he can
No-brainer.
that, as long as that's. And the other thing I wanted to bring up quickly was with relief. 2 of the 3 that were left are already Decatur volunteers that are already working relief. Ken and I had a little brief conversation about I am basically using all of the guys that are interested for relief. I'm already using them. Would there be an issue with bringing Joey Gorman? It's not been done before, but I think it's a good idea, is to bring Joey on, not as a volunteer, but solely as a relief driver. He would just be like EMS does with a part-time medic. Hey, can you work 2 weeks from now on Thursday? And Joey's scheduling is a little bit conducive to being able to work weekdays. So he would have to do some remedial training to drive our trucks, but he's already a Preble volunteer. So this might be a good opportunity because, in all honesty, I've got 2 guys that can work. I've actually 3 that can work days. And the one, God love him, He's served us for 40-some years, but I really got to kind of figure out a exit plan for Walt. He's going to be 73 if he's not already, and this would just be another guy that would be young.
And that's old.
Huh?
That's old.
Isn't it though?
He's too old to be driving 50,000,
Yeah.
25-ton fire truck around.
You drive a golf cart.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary too.
Yeah, you know, so that would, I guess, I've talked just a little bit to Joey, and he would be interested, but he's kind of concerned about, you know, whether he's going to have time with EMS and working at Weldon, but, you know, he wants to come in and talk, and I think the big issue is how much training is it going to take him, and how often would I need him, and what I'm going to need to do now is with the relief guys I have is try to manage the vacation days a little better so that I'm not calling them on Thursday and saying, hey, can you work on Saturday? I'm going to have to manage that piece so that, hey, 2 weeks from now, can you work this?
I would say if you can get him in the program, to go for it. I mean, it's going to be nothing but a benefit for us.
Well, and him, he simply would be, he would need part-time, he would need to sign up the part-time stuff that puts him under our workers' comp.
Sure.
And,
That'd be fine, I would think. I would go for it myself, but
Les, do you still have one out on medical leave? Is that?
and Scott's going to be out till at least mid-November.
But it's looking like he's going to be back?
Looks like he's going to be back
good.
right now, it does.
Greg, did you have a question or comment back there?
All of them, have they passed passport?
Well, that's what we're,
The two new hire full-time haven't. That's where the blood testing is coming in.
should know something next day or so.
But, yeah, the part,
That's from public
public safety
safety,
medical.
but has Earth signed them on
Not without the blood, the reason of the blood test.
not.
And I don't know what else they can, you know, so tomorrow they'll need an earwax sample or something. So, well, I'll give it Joey, and that's pretty much where we're at. I'll let Phyllis step over as soon as I can get
Okay,
Taylor in here to get started.
okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So is that approved to hire Joey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You want it in the form of a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
Thought we already...
No, we didn't make that motion. I hired Joey as a relief.
Oh, I think
Right.
Yeah.
Taylor, sorry.
Title VI Resolution, Tim.
Yeah. Jeremy contacted me and asked if I could try to get a resolution put together for board approval. If you recall, about 5 years ago, we developed an ADA plan, and Jeremy was named as the ADA coordinator. Title VI is really Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. What's happening is that so many of the federal dollars are now tied to compliance with these federal anti-discrimination laws. So in order for us to remain eligible for NDOT federal highway funding, we have to have a Title VI implementation plan on file, and we have to have a coordinator, Title VI coordinator. So Jeremy's already gone through the training to be the Title VI coordinator. And so what this resolution does, we developed the plan, submitted it to NDOT back in March. That was kind of the first step in trying to comply with this new requirement. It actually was on the books for some time, but it's now being enforced. And so we developed that, submitted it, but it was never formally approved by the board. Jeremy was never named formally as the Title VI coordinator. So this resolution kind of is patterned after what we did with the ADA plan and naming Jeremy as the coordinator for ADA. So his title would then kind of shift or change to ADA/Title VI coordinator. He would be responsible for keeping up his training to fill that position, would oversee any training of personnel that we would need to train with regard to compliance issues, spells out what the process is if somebody has a complaint that they feel they've been discriminated, and this is far more than just the ADA compliance. This goes across the board for any kind of services. It's based on protecting against discrimination based on age, gender, all the protected classes. And so race, nationality, I'm not naming everything, color, disability, all of those things are protected classes under federal law. So this person is basically designed to make sure that the city is following these federal statutes and regulations to ensure that citizens in Decatur are not being discriminated against. That's the purpose of the resolution. So this is Resolution 2016-11. It's a resolution of the Board of Works. Okay?
Basically, what NDOT's done is over the last 3 years or so, we have to go through, it's called ERC, research, to do business with NDOT. I am the ERC for the city of Decatur, so it wasn't having a whole lot of response to a lot of this was coming about discrimination, this type of stuff, because a lot of people just don't want to get involved in it, because it is very time consuming. It's more of like a human resource position. But what they started doing is when they wasn't getting a lot of response, they started mandating the training through your ERC research just to try to get some people trained. So that's kind of where we're at now. I'm basically the one with the training, and we have to, you need to appoint someone, at least for now. It can always change later if we decide that we want someone else to do it. To be able to satisfy NDOT, we do have a couple grants, or a grant out right now that, it's going to come time here that they're going to check to see if this is ever completed, and it will be part of the deciding factor on the grant. So it's a working document. It's going to change. It's probably going to change annually. So we're going to be adding to, and probably yearly you will be coming back and say, here's our amended plan.
Right.
This amended plan.
Okay. And it spells out in here that at least annually this will be reviewed with the Board of Works, because I think as time progresses, there's going to be some additional language that will be required coming out of the state. So we're probably going to have to modify our plan accordingly.
Is this the same thing that the county, was in the paper that the county
Yeah.
was
Actually,
suggesting we had?
the county wanted to share. They asked if Jeremy would be interested in doing it, and I
Please continue.
Mark Berry called me about that, and I was very candid with Mark. I said, Mark, I said, Jeremy's a great guy, and he could do a good job, but I said, right now his plate's pretty full. And I said, I don't have that the ability to make that decision or make that commitment, but I said, if anything, adding to that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
They want to share a lot of stuff.
They do, as long as we're the ones that do it.
So I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 2016-11 by short title.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Tim?
Resolution 2016-11, short title, Resolution of the Decatur Board of Public Works and Safety, which adopts a Title VI implementation plan and which establishes an ADA Title VI coordinator for the city of Decatur, Indiana.
Okay. That was for adoption, right? Okay, thank you. We're all taken care of on that then. No?
That was actually the introduction.
So now we need an
Now you need the motion to adopt.
Okay. Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2016-11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Now we're adopted. There we go.
Okay. Probably 3 copies there.
Two things. Stay there. West Monroe Street Sewer Project. Tim did he did call and talk to Al Bechtel. And he faxed this to Tim late this afternoon. With our current workload, we're 4 to 6 weeks away from being able to start your project. We estimate total duration of work, start to finish, approximately 2 weeks. If you cannot wait on us, we would expect no compensation. Thank you for your patience. So they will honor the quote of $32,635, but we're looking at November, most likely. And our next lowest quote was Fleming at 11,000 more, I believe, right? Is there any reason why we can't wait till November?
As long as they get it in.
Do they do boring?
They do not.
So was he going to outsource this to somebody? Okay.
And that's probably what his delays been the whole entire time. This was awarded on April 4th
Yeah.
Right.
to the contractor,
Yeah.
and he just, I called him 3 times. And I'll call you tomorrow, I'll give you a date. I've never heard anything. That's why I turned it over.
He did tell Tim
Terry
that,
Smith calls me about weekly.
yeah.
And that's what I told Mr. Bechtel. I said, look, this is a public health issue. I said, last year we had West Nile test at a location here because of raw sewage. And I said, you know, we've been waiting for 5 months for this project to be done. When is it going to get done? And if you're not going to do it, then we're going to get somebody else in to do it. So I told him, I said, either give me a definite commitment or tell me you're not going to do it, one way or the other. And he said, well, you know, if you can wait 4 to 6 weeks, we could probably get to it. It'll take us a couple weeks to get it done. He said, if you need to get it done sooner, he said, I understand too. I said, well, send me something and confirm what you're telling me. And I said, then we'll bring it up tonight at the Board of Works and we'll see what you guys want to do.
Can Fleming even handle it right now?
Yeah, they're looking for, he was actually going to start on it this week if he could get it. He's been calling for about 2 or 3 weeks. He knows we still have some.
We've already got other prices. Next lowest bid's $11,000.
From Fleming.
Higher.
But that was back in April, right?
Right.
You want to rebid it?
He is going to,
Greg.
he said that he would honor that price. I did, solicit another quote, just to kind of check on both quotes from another, drilling company out of Fort Wayne, and then come back at $59,000 for them to do it.
So we got a 32, a 43, and a 59.
114.
So if
Yeah, that's
we
probably
if we hold up and wait on them and they do it, that's just running the line. Then everybody has to get tapped into it. But that's not our problem. That's up to the county.
West Monroe?
Yeah, that's up to the county.
All you're doing is putting in.
They're talking about redoing this. This is the
It's
low
like
pressure
check valves,
Yeah.
clean outs, and stuff
The high
like that
pressure.
for that line.
sewer line.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to wait if you guys are okay with it. I think that we need to, Tim, do you think we need to continue?
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue that we run into. It's like, okay, 4 weeks go by and he's still out in another 4 weeks. It has to, you said, I mean, it has to be done.
Can something be written that there's a
Well,
penalty if it doesn't
I think, you know, if you're gonna try to go with this, I think we need to make very clear that if he fails to perform as he has suggested, that we will hire somebody else to do the job, and we will seek to recover from him the difference between the two quotes.
Okay, well, to do that, we need to have a document that he signs.
Yeah, I think what we do is, in response to this, we send something to him confirming that the city will wait for him to perform the work, that it must start within 6 weeks. It has to be completed within 2 weeks after, at the price that was originally quoted. If he fails to do that, then we will bring in another contractor to perform the work, and any additional costs over what he quoted, we will sue to recover from him.
Okay, so tonight, can we just table this and let you continue to work on it? Or do you want to do...
Well, I would rather you guys tell me, do you want to wait and go forward and let me get it sent out then? Or do you want to have somebody else do the work now?
I'm not crazy about spending an additional $11,000 if we get this guy to do it.
Once you spend that money, these guys don't want to do it at that point.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and at that point, he might say, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to, and then you can go forward. But yeah, I'm inclined to let Tim come up with a letter and try to save the $11,000 and then find out what Mr.
Put
Bechtel
specific dates
decides
on it,
on.
right?
Yeah, if he can give us a reply on that
Yep.
relatively quick, Tim,
Yep.
then
Is it 4 or 6? I mean, he said 4 to 6.
I can almost assure you it'll be 6.
yeah.
Okay.
I would
So-
just put a completion date on it, that it
Yeah.
has to be completed
Right.
by this date.
Yep.
And put the pressure on him and say that you're in or you're out. We've been waiting since April.
Yeah, like Tyler said, you may just say, I don't want any part of this.
Yep.
Right.
But you know it right now, rather than waiting.
October 18th would be 6 weeks from today. 2 weeks later would be for 1st of November.
So just November 1 is when it's to be completed. I don't care when he starts, but it better be done by November 1.
Okay, so I need a motion for this, so I still got one more matter to discuss.
Okay, I'll make a motion to proceed with honoring the original quote.
Which was how much?
32, where'd it go?
32,635.
Do you have a copy of that, Tim?
The
I can
32,635,
Yeah,
the
do
job
that.
be
Well,
completed by 1
if I get
November.
an email. If I can...
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Shall be completed by 1 November, else different contractor and seek,
Yep.
whatever you would call it, reimbursement for difference in quotes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you, Tim. Last thing I wanted to briefly discuss was the Pensy Depot rental. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just got you guys a draft.
Right.
You can mark that up anyway, and I agree with what Sandy's saying. Some of that language probably doesn't need to be in there for a short rental term.
I replied back to Sandy and asked her if she would maybe check with some other communities, but I've not talked to her. So
But, you know,
I'll give her a
my
call.
concern is if our insurance carrier is telling us that they will not insure if we don't require that insurance, that's what I want to know. And you know, if they say, no, we're not saying...
I sent this to Gravers, and they okayed your lease agreement.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if we say, we want to insure it, we're not going to require them, are they going to cover it as a claim if we have an injury there? I mean, if we don't require that language, does our insurance still apply? That's the issue. Because if they're flat out saying that we won't insure it unless you require this in your lease, then we have to have it in there. Otherwise, we have no insurance. If they're just saying that they would prefer that we have this in so that they're not first on the hook for a claim, that's a little different.
I thought you put it in there though, Tim, didn't you? But
What's
you're
that?
saying, you put it in here.
I
but
put it
you
in
don't
based on what they said they would,
do, but
what
if you
they
take
wanted.
it out, you're wondering if they would
if
insure it.
we say we're not going to require that and take
Okay.
that out,
Okay,
does our coverage still apply?
okay.
You're wanting to know from the insurance, is it desired or required?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You know, if they prefer it, that's one thing. If it's required, that's something
If
different.
it's desired or preferred, then we can
We
amend ours
can
to be
take it
more
out.
lenient.
Exactly. But if it's required for our coverage to apply, then we have to keep it in. That's all I want to know.
And I think we need to discuss, after the weekend, we need to discuss parking. Down there, we need to discuss parking. We've got a real problem down there with parking. So,
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I realize that, yeah, because
Yeah.
there's only enough
5
room for...
cars and 2
Well,
handicaps.
even if you go around the
Well,
circle,
then we need to put parking spots there.
but that'll only hold maybe another 8
Yeah,
cars or
yeah.
so.
And then we need to block off or put marking so that they don't drift over into the police department.
Well, I talked to Greg about it, as long as the 2 spaces well, it's not really 2 spaces, but if we paint them over in that paved area that's furthest to the north, if we paid in a couple spaces there, that's okay. That's out of the way of the police.
I understand that, but if I would, if you want my input, I think you put a white line right across there and put police parking only.
Only.
Don't leave anybody drift into the parking,
I'm fine with that too.
because if you drift into the police parking, you're gonna have the same thing you had Friday night, so.
And probably on the rental agreement, maybe say...
We need
that
additional parking.
There's parking for X amount of spaces, additional parking should be...
So